Stop. Whatever you are doing right now, stop. What I'm about to say is not for everyone listening, it is for you. A door was opened this Thursday, an entry that should never have been allowed, and you can feel the weight of it in the air you breathe. There is a real urgency, a need to seal what was left exposed before time moves any further. You have been feeling a subtle invasion, something that enters without asking permission and alters the rhythm of your peace, and that is exactly why you are here. By the end of this conversation, you will recognize the exact signs that this opening happened and what it has been doing to your energy. You will understand the invisible pattern that allowed this unwanted frequency to settle into your personal space. And before we finish, there is a revelation about the authority you carry, a key that will allow you to close, once and for all, what should never have been left open. Take a deep breath with me now, feeling the weight of what you have been carrying. You have been waking up with a tiredness that sleep does not cure, as if, during the hours of silence, something has been draining your vital reserve. You notice that conversations that once flowed naturally now carry a strangeness, a void, a sense that you are talking to someone who is not really there. You feel sudden waves of anxiety that arise for no apparent reason, as if an external noise were trying to tune into your internal frequency. Sometimes you catch yourself thinking about situations that should already be resolved, but they have returned with a new force, as if they found a crack to come back through. These signs are not random. They are the evidence that something entered through the door you left ajar without realizing it. This weariness you feel is the result of a vigilance that was interrupted. You are not facing an external enemy, but rather the echo of a permission that was given in a moment of distraction. If at least one of these signs touched you, if your shoulders dropped at any point in the last few minutes, type the number 888 in the comments. Your fingers typing those numbers are your spirit saying yes to the restoration of your boundary. It is the smallest agreement, but it is a real agreement that you no longer accept this intrusion. Type 888. Attention! You need to prepare yourself now. I have prepared material for those who doubt their own calling from God and still do not have confirmation. Are you one of the chosen? We'll give you that clarity. These are the 7 signs of the language of the calling, marks of God in the story of every chosen one, so you can reread your story and recognize the purpose sealed over you before the foundation of the world. Stop calling coincidence what is actually a calling. Stop silencing the sacred restlessness. Stop postponing the answer you feel. Your window is closing, and a chosen one who does not recognize the calling does not walk in purpose. More than 10,000 people have already read the 7 signs and received the conviction they had been seeking for years. They were just like you. They felt something no one understood. They lived in silent doubt, and they discovered it was real, and it had a name. The offer is open only this month. Access the link in the pinned comment now before doubt steals another year from your calling. 88, and come back to me. Beneath these symptoms, there is a pattern you have been repeating, almost like an automatic obedience to a script that is not yours. You have been operating under a posture of permissiveness, believing that being accessible is the same as being generous. But the truth is, in trying to be everything to everyone, you forgot to be the guardian of your own house. You confuse exhaustion with faithfulness, thinking that if you sacrifice yourself to the limit, you will be honoring your purpose, when in reality, you are just leaving the door open for everything that floats in the other's field to anchor itself in you. Your biggest mistake was not a lack of faith, but an excess of openness on ground that needed a wall. You have been pulling ropes that are no longer attached to anything, sustaining connections that have lost their meaning, and allowing the noise of the world to become the soundtrack of your mind. It is as if you performed for an audience that was never paying attention, spending your light in empty rooms while your true home grows cold. You are not guilty for having lost yourself, but from now on, the responsibility of naming what enters and what leaves is entirely yours. The pattern needs to be broken here, at the root of your intention, because your energy is your most sacred resource, and you can no longer allow it to be plundered by anything that crosses your path. Stay with me, because the deepest layer, the one that explains why you have felt this way for so long, is the next one we are about to enter. Imagine a vast courtyard, a space that should be the sanctuary of your essence, where light circulates freely and silence is a form of celebration. For a long time, you left the gate of this courtyard wide open, not out of neglect, but from a silent belief that if you were good enough, if you were receptive enough, nothing that was not good would enter. But what you did not realize is that the world does not operate by the logic of your goodness. It operates by the logic of occupation. Your inner courtyard, which should be adorned with your own fruits, has become a transit passage for the anxieties, pressures, and urgencies that other people could not carry. You became a repository, not by choice, but by omission of authority. And it is here that the diagnosis becomes clear. This pattern of permissiveness is what keeps your vibrational field depleted. You attract what does not belong to you, because inside you there is still the child who learned that to be loved or accepted, she needed to be available all the time. That is the root of your invasion. You do not need to expel anything with brute force, because the force you exert is the same one that attracts resistance from the other side. You only need to retake your post as sentinel. Your courtyard is not in ruins, it just needs a new guardian. Imagine now that you walk to that gate, a gate that has been loose on its hinges, swinging with every Thursday wind. You do not need to build a wall of stone and isolation. You only need the firm intention of someone who knows what belongs to them. What comes through your door these days does not ask permission because you, somewhere deep in your memory, forgot that the key is yours. There is a necessary restoration, not of effort, but of posture. It is the act of withdrawing your attention from other people's problems and bringing it back to your own land. The tiredness you feel is not a lack of physical energy. It is the result of your energy being distributed in places where you are not even present. It is time to close the cracks. It is time to stop answering calls that were not meant for your voice. If something inside you just sealed itself, if the image of that inner courtyard fell into a place of clarity you could not explain, type the words, "I see," in the comments. Let the recognition fix itself where the truth has just landed. The act of typing those words makes your commitment to your own peace permanent in your personal record. Type and come back to me. Take a deep breath with me now, feeling the weight leave your shoulders as you recognize that you are no longer a servant of other people's disorders. Stay with that feeling of relief for a moment. If something in this message confirmed what your spirit already knew, let your like be your wordless amen. Not as a social media metric, not as a number that serves systems, but as a deep agreement that what was named here was named correctly, as a seal of alignment between what you hear and what you accept as truth for your path from now on. Every gesture of agreement is a reinforcement of your new posture, a mark that you are no longer willing to let your Thursday be a day of invasion, but rather a day of absolute sovereignty over what enters your life. Stop. It is for you. There is a spiritual door that has been kept open this Thursday, letting in noises, worries, and demands that do not belong to your inner house. You feel like you have been trying harder than the people around you, and yet the door has not opened. There is a reason, and now you are going to hear the answer. By the end, you will recognize the signs that have been appearing in your life and what they really mean. You will understand the single pattern that has been blocking your flow. And before we finish, we will have a declaration that is the seal of protection over your life. You have noticed sudden waves of emotion with no apparent cause. You have felt that conversations that were once natural now feel empty. as if there were an invisible chasm between you and others. Maybe you have been waking up at the same time every night, with the feeling that something was left open. It is the smallest agreement, but it is real. The diagnosis is simple. You have been operating from a pattern of invisible permissiveness. You have been pulling ropes that are no longer attached to anything. You have confused exhaustion with faithfulness, thinking that if you do not carry the world will collapse. But the truth is, you have kept your inner courtyard without a guardian. Imagine a large, ancient courtyard that belongs to you, but whose gates were left unlocked. People, worries, and strange energies come and go, stepping on your soil, messing up what you organize with such care. You never authorized the entry, but you also did not close the latch. You live like someone trying to keep the house clean, while the front door remains wide open to the street. It is exhausting to try to clean an environment that is being invaded every moment. The solution is not to build higher walls or fight against those who pass by on the street. The solution is the return to authority. It is the simple act of closing the latch. You do not need to deserve this right. You do not need to ask for permission. You are the owner of the land. The recognition that you are the highest authority of your space is what restores your peace. By making the decision to guard your own entrance, you do not become selfish. You become whole. What is yours remains. What is not simply finds no more space to land. There is someone in your life who needs exactly this message right now. Someone who has been trying harder than everyone around them and still sees the door remain closed. Someone who has been walking in silence in a way that no one around them can explain. Someone whose face just appeared in your mind as I spoke. Perhaps a loved one who carries a weight that is not theirs and feels responsible for everything. Send this to that person, not as a recommendation, but as a delivery. Just as it came to you by notice, take this relief to someone who also needs to understand that they no longer need to carry what does not belong to them. Before this ends, type the words, "I am the chosen one," in the comments, not as a wish, not as a hope, as a confirmation. The agreement that has been forming in silence between heaven and your hearing is an agreement you will live by for the rest of this season. Type slowly. Let your fingers do what your spirit is already doing. Something happened to you this Thursday, and you still have not been able to name the weight that settled on your shoulders. You have been trying harder than the people around you, trying to carry the world on your back, and yet the feeling is that the door of your life has not opened as it should. There is a clear reason for this blockage, an invisible trail you have been leaving wherever you go, and now you are going to hear exactly what is happening. Stay with me, because this recognition is the turning point your spirit has been waiting for. In this message, you will identify the 3 signs that an external interference has been accessing your intimacy without your permission. You will understand the unique pattern that has been draining your energy and preventing your rest. And before we finish, there is a revelation about your position as guardian that will change the way you see everything that enters and everything that leaves your emotional horizon. You have been feeling an exhaustion that sleep does not cure, a fatigue that comes from the soul, as if you were always on watch. You notice that conversations that once flowed now seem to carry a static noise, an emptiness that bothers you. Furthermore, you have noticed certain numbers repeating themselves in moments of hesitation, as if time were trying to get your attention for something you insist on ignoring. These are not problems. They are alarms. They are confirmations that your frequency is being tested by energies that should not be there. It is the smallest possible agreement, but it is absolutely real. Type 888 and come back to me, because what lies beneath this needs to be exposed now. The pattern you have been operating is the open door for those who do not have the key. You learn to be receptive, to be welcoming, to carry the pain of others as if it were your own, and this virtue, when misdirected, becomes your greatest vulnerability. You pull ropes that are no longer attached to anything, trying to save situations that destiny itself has already closed. You have been performing for an audience that was never paying attention to who you really are, only to what you can offer. Imagine now the courtyard of your own house, a place that should be of silence and restoration. For a long time, you left the gates open, believing that goodness required total lack of protection. You allowed the dust, the contrary winds, and the energies from outside to enter and settle, confusing your courtyard with a public square. But your courtyard is not public. It is a sacred space that needs a guardian. The revelation of today is that the guardian was sleeping, but he has just awakened. Let this recognition seal where the truth has just landed. The act of typing these words makes the witness permanent in your own record. Type and come back to me. Let your like be your wordless amen. Not as a network metric, but as a deep agreement that what was named here was named correctly, and that you accept your new position as watchman. The solution does not lie in more effort, in more forced vigils, or in more attempts to convince others to leave your space. The solution is the return to authority. When you become the owner of your house, the energy around you changes instantly. You do not expel what comes through your door with shouts, but with the firm presence of someone who knows who they belong to and what their territory is. It is an act of unlearning the guilt of saying no. It is the act of withdrawing your focus and returning it to your center, where peace is the only thing that has permission to dwell. You have been carrying the weight of paths that do not belong to you, absorbing worries that were not designed for your mind, and allowing the noise from outside to dictate the rhythm of your silence. But there is someone in your life who needs exactly this clarity now. Someone you know well, whose face just appeared in your mind at this moment. It is that person who tries harder than everyone around them, who maintains a posture of strength while crumbling inside, and who walks in absolute silence, believing that the door of their life will never open. Send this message to that person. Not as a casual suggestion, but as a necessary delivery. They need to know that what happened this Thursday was not a coincidence, but a warning that the time of invasion has come to an end. Take a deep breath now, because what we are establishing here is a pact of return. Before we finish, type the words, "I am the chosen one," in the comments. Do not do it as a request nor as a distant hope. Type it as a final confirmation, a seal that you yourself place upon your spirit. The agreement that has been forming in silence between the high and your hearing is a commitment you will live by for the coming times. Feel your fingers typing slowly, confirming what your soul has already recognized as non-negotiable truth. Something happened this Thursday that you still have not been able to name, but the urgency you feel now is the proof that the door of your spiritual life was left open without proper protection. What once seemed like ordinary tiredness today reveals itself as an invasion, a draining that you allowed because you did not know that your house, your inner courtyard, was without its proper guardian. You have been trying, you have been looking for answers in the wrong places, and still the feeling that something subtracts your peace continues. I am here to tell you that this perception is not a product of your imagination. It is a warning. It is a call to reclaim what is yours by right and by inheritance. You need to understand that by the end of this transmission, 3 things will happen. You will clearly identify the signs that your spiritual door was opened. You will understand the pattern of permissiveness that has attracted what does not belong to you. And finally, you will receive the key to seal this territory once and for all. It is the smallest agreement, but it is real. The 888 is the frequency of overflow, the closure of what leaked, and the restoration of what was contained. These signs are more common than you imagine. You have been waking up in the middle of the night, feeling a restlessness that has no name, as if there was someone or something calling you, but without a clear voice. You notice that conversations that were once nourishing now feel empty, as if there were a background noise preventing real connection. You notice that certain numbers or patterns of events have started repeating themselves in your week, like a timestamp you still cannot read. And above all, there is this inexplicable weight on your shoulders, as if you were carrying a responsibility that did not start with you, but that pursues you like a shadow. All of this is just your defense system trying to warn you that your guard was lowered. The cause of all this, the pattern you have been repeating, is the habit of believing that being faithful is the same as being permissive. You have confused your goodness with the obligation to let any energy, any thought, or any external demand enter your inner courtyard. You pull ropes that are no longer attached to anything and wear yourself out trying to hold on to structures that were not made to last. It is as if you were trying to keep a light on in a room where the windows were open to the storm. The diagnosis is clear. You're not weak. You are just exhausted from being a guardian who forgot to close the main gate. Imagine at this moment that your life is a large inner courtyard surrounded by high protected walls. This courtyard was designed to be the place where your spirit rests, where your intentions germinate like rare seeds. However, because of an old formation, something that was done or said to you long ago, you learned that your courtyard must always be open, always available, always serving whoever passes by on the street. You became a passage courtyard for the anxieties of others, for inherited fears, and for invasions that should not even have permission to touch your shadow. The roots of this posture are in your childhood or in past generations that had to annul themselves to survive. But you are no longer a survivor. You are an inhabitant of this courtyard, and it is time to retake control of the access. Let the recognition seal where it has just landed. You are no longer operating in the dark. You are awake, you are aware, and most importantly, you are ready to act with the authority that has always been yours. Type and come back to me. If this message confirmed what your spirit already knew, let your like be your wordless amen, not as a metric, but as an agreement that what was named here was named correctly. The solution does not require sacrifices nor long journeys of penance. The solution only requires you to retake the posture of authority. Closing the door is not an act of aggression, it is an act of sovereignty. When you decide that nothing enters without your permission, peace is not something you seek. It is something that simply starts to inhabit your courtyard again. It is the return to your essence, the cleansing of what was accumulated, and the rest you have waited so long for. Take a deep breath, for this is the moment to let go of what no longer belongs to you. Someone you have been watching walk in silence. Someone who tries much harder than people can see, and who, even in the face of so much effort, feels that the doors of life remain locked. It is that person who carries a posture of protection towards everyone, but who, deep down, feels the cold of an invaded and unguarded inner courtyard. The face of this person just appeared in your mind as I spoke, did it not? It is not a coincidence. Send this to that person now, not as a casual recommendation, but as a delivery, a warning that they no longer need to carry this weight alone. Let this recognition reach them like a key that opens what seemed rusted, not as a wish, nor as a distant hope. Type it as a solemn confirmation of your sovereignty. Type slowly. Let your fingers do what your spirit is already doing at this very moment, sealing your territory. Your authority is not something you build, it is something you remember. When you decide that the courtyard of your soul is not a public passage, but a private sanctuary, the confusion that Thursday brought begins to dissipate. Many of the times you felt exhausted without understanding the reason for so much wear and tear. It was precisely because your energy was being drained by accesses you left open without realizing it. Do not blame yourself for having been too hospitable. Your heart has always been generous, but even generosity needs clear boundaries to flourish. Take a deep breath now, releasing every tension that still inhabits your shoulders. Let this clarity descend to your fingertips. If at least one of these signs touched you, if you felt the weight of tiredness transform into a spark of lucidity, type the number 888 in the comments. It is the smallest agreement, but it is a pact of sovereignty that you make with what is most sacred in you. This movement of closing the doors does not mean isolating yourself from the world, but rather ensuring that what enters your space has the correct frequency to dwell there. You have been operating for a long time under the pattern of trying to please everyone, fearing that by saying no, you would lose something precious. But the truth is, by saying yes to what is foreign to your essence, you lose yourself. The diagnosis I place before you is simple. You were treating your life as an open field when you should treat it as a walled garden. Your inner courtyard was without a guardian for a time, perhaps from exhaustion or inattention. But what happened this Thursday was the final call for you to retake your post. You are committed. You are sent. You are being led. Right now, all over the world, other people are receiving this same recognition and closing the doors of what was left open unnecessarily. You are part of something that does not announce itself with noise, and that is exactly why it is the deepest and most real truth you could find today. Walk with the authority of someone who has finally taken possession of their own house. Attention! You need to prepare yourself now. I have prepared material for those who doubt their own calling from God and still do not have confirmation. Are you one of the chosen? We'll give you that clarity. These are the 7 signs of the language of the calling, marks of God in the story of every chosen one, so you can reread your story and recognize the purpose sealed over you before the foundation of the world. Stop calling coincidence what is actually a calling. Stop silencing the sacred restlessness. Stop postponing the answer you feel. Your window is closing, and a chosen one who does not recognize the calling does not walk in purpose. More than 10,000 people have already read the 7 signs and received the conviction they had been seeking for years. They were just like you. They felt something no one understood. They lived in silent doubt, and they discovered it was real. And it had a name. The offer is open only this month. Access the link in the pinned comment now before doubt steals another year from your calling.